Today I'm talking to Rogério and Sónia Ramos, who have been EMF missionaries in Sinj in Portugal for over 22 years. And Rogério and Sónia have agreed to do an interview over Zoom as we're in lockdown. And they're going to tell us a bit about their work and their life in Portugal. So Rogério and Sónia, thank you so much for joining me and giving me a bit of your time over Zoom to get to know you a bit. So maybe I can start by asking a bit about yourself and how and when you both became Christians.
Hello, my full name is Rogério Ramos, and this is my beautiful wife, Sónia, and we are married 23 years, she said. She always remembers these dates. I forget.
We have two sons, Marcos and Lucas, and we study in EMF School of Evangelism in 1997-1998.
Just for you to know that we spent our honeymoon in the school. So our first year of marriage, it was in EMF Evangelical School.
I hope it was a good location for a honeymoon.
Oh, it was. When I finished in 98, in November, I became the pastor in the church in Sinj. It's a small town, 12,000 people. It's marvelous how I became to know God. My parents, when I was young, with 6 years old, more or less, they rent a room in their house. And that family that came to our house, they were Christians. So they invite my parents to go to the church, first my mother and then me and my sisters. And I can tell you now that all of us are believers in Christ.
I grew up in a Christian family. I came to know the Lord when I was 12. My parents and my older sister are Christians as well, but my brother isn't. I have some relatives that are Christian too.
And I forgot to tell you that through our family, it's amazing. We can see the God saving people in our family. The testimony of my mother brought my grandmother to the Lord from my mother's side, also from my father's side. Mm-hmm. I have some aunties that also they are believers. I have a cousin. So it's marvelous because when I go back in 1980, none of us were believers. So we didn't have any believers in the family. And now we have. That's tremendous.
So that's a wonderful story of God's grace working in your family's life. Tell us a bit about Portugal and what it's like to be an evangelical Christian living in Portugal.
Portugal, it's a Roman Catholic country. The majority of the people, they are religious. And they say they are Catholic if they believe in God. But many of them don't practice Catholicism.
And to be an evangelical in Portugal can be very difficult in some parts of the country, especially in the north and also in the south, in an area called Alentejo.
If you come to the south, especially in an area called Alentejo, it's the area where we live, many of them are not religious because also of the past, that they have an influence of communism. So the Catholicism is not very strong in this area of Portugal. In small towns like Sinj, for example, it's difficult even to meet Christians in a local work or in the school. We see some indifference to God and no knowledge of God. That's a reality that we can see.
People respect my faith, but when I try to speak more about Christ, their reactions is one of indifference, even with the people that I call friends.
So tell us a bit about the work you do in the church in Sinj, I think that's how you pronounce it, and some of the people you're involved with.
So as I said in the beginning, I'm involved with the church since 1998. It was a challenge in the beginning, so I had to bring the church to the doctrines of grace. So I was involved with a lot of preaching and teaching. We have centered our projects to bring the knowledge of the gospel, not just for our church, but also for this area of Portugal, especially Alentejo. This is why we started a conference called Evangelical Faith. The goal is to bring the sound gospel to the Christian community in Alentejo. And we have conference in Sinj every year. We have conference in another place in land called Beja. Because of these needs of good sound gospel, in these last couple of years I have developed a mini school of theology to increase the desire of a group of men to serve in our local church or in another church. And this commitment to the word has borne fruits.
I'm involved with the music in the church, the children's work, and the ladies' meeting. And I do a lot of visitation, and also I help the elder people with their needs.
Perhaps you could give us a few prayer requests for people who want to remember you in prayer and support the work in Portugal.
So, as I said, I spoke to you about the mini theological school. You should pray for that, and we hope in the next 3 years to start a course of 4 years in a church with different pastors coming to teach different lectures of theology in the church. Our goal is not just for the men of the church, but also to invite men from different churches in this area of Alentejo to learn the doctrines of grace.
And please pray for the children's work. We are trying to establish a team to work in this area with the children. Yeah.